We are now at the 2-minute warning of contract negotiations between the Washington Commanders and Terry McLaurin. And we get a bit of an update, if you want to call it that, from an ESPN NFL insider about Washington's unwillingness to trade Terry McLaurin and what his real legit contract demands may actually be, and if the team's actually meeting them. With Dan Quinn and Adam Peters set for their training camp presser Tuesday afternoon, I would imagine they'd like to get this done over the next 24 hours, or every question on Tuesday is going to be about the Terry McLaurin contract. Let's talk about it.
Things stand between the Commanders and Terry McLaurin.
Well, Terry McLaurin, Courtney, remains frustrated. They have not had meaningful conversations on a deal in a while. I checked with Washington. They have no plans to trade Terry McLaurin. They do want him there long term. The question is, are they willing to meet this market that's gotten crazy where players are making $30+ million a year at the receiver position? My sense is they're just not even close to that there, and McLaurin senses that, which is why he's speaking out publicly.
My sense is, I think that's the most important wording here in Jeremy Fowler's spiel about this contract thing with Terry McLaurin. My sense is what he did speak on confidently is that I spoke to a team source and they want no parts of trading him. They want Terry there long term. That I will take. The whole my sense is the team is not willing to meet the demands of $30+ million and aren't close to that. It's an assumption he's making. It's an hypothesis. You know how we come on this channel? I'm not media. I'm not an NFL insider. I know some people in the building. I will never be out here per sources on the timeline and pretending that I'm breaking news over here. Under Josh Harris's ownership and Adam Peters' front office, there have not been leaky faucets out of DC, meaning when we do things, you find out about them when they're done. So nobody knows what we're offering Terry. Nobody knows what Terry's demanding. We have a much better chance of knowing what Terry and his agent wants because that's how agents negotiate and leverage contracts. But Adam Peters and company, we find out their intentions when they're in wax and when they're ready to be reported on. And no one from the local media usually has it. And if anyone does, it's Nikki Jabwala. But they've done a good job of this pragmatic, behind the scenes, no one knows but the family approach since Adam Peters got here. So when Jeremy Fowler says my sense is Washington isn't close to giving him $30 million yet, I think the initial offer could have been in the T. Higgins range, which is $28,500,000 a year. I do believe that. I don't believe that's what you would deem not close to $30 million a year, because the way Jeremy Fowler just phrased that shit, he phrased it like they offered him the Mike Evans contract. Mike Evans is 31 years old. Mike Evans is on a 2-year, $41 million extension. I don't mean $41 million per. I mean, over 2 years, Mike Evans is getting $41 million, meaning about what? $20.5 million a year, $20,500,000. They not offering Terry some chump shit like that. They're not offering him less than $25 million a year, and I doubt they offered him anything less than 27 or 28. So that would already debunk the phrasing of I don't believe Washington is anywhere close to that at the moment, meaning Jeremy Fowler, like every other NFL insider, national or locally, and all of us fans don't have a fucking clue what these negotiations really look or sound like behind the scenes. And this is what we asked for. This is what we begged for as a Washington Commanders fan base, Redskins football team, whatever you want to call it, our favorite football team. We've begged for that. We've begged for competency. We've begged for adults in the building who get shit done. And sometimes that means the emotions of the fan base are not the priority. No, most or all of the time, the emotions of the fan base. We're going to handle business over here. Y'all going to see it when it gets done. You react accordingly. There's a press conference on Tuesday afternoon where Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are going to sit down probably for 25 minutes or so and address the media to open up training camp, with veterans reporting on the 22nd. Training camp getting underway on Wednesday afternoon. I imagine they know what we know, and that's that if this Terry situation is not resolved before said press conference, every question is going to be about it. Yeah, they'll talk about Jaden at some point. They'll get to the signing of Von Miller for a second, but let's call it a spade. They're going to ask about Terry's contract the entire day. They're going to ask some uncomfortable questions. You're going to have to go out there and plead the fifth like Dave Chappelle, like FIF, for the entire press conference, because it's going to get uncomfortable. And you're going to eventually say, we're working it out internally. Next question. And the next question is going to also be about Terry McLaurin, because this isn't the same as when we extended Sam Cosmi last year. That's why I really don't want to bring that. I don't bring that into this conversation, because Sam Cosmi's contract was not as dire and as intense as this one. This is Terry McLaurin. This is our number one weapon on the offensive side of the ball. Sam Cosmi was never threatening to hold out and stuff. Linemen rarely do, but that was never a situation as delicate as this one. And this one is very delicate. We've watched one of the most selfless, soft-spoken players that Washington's had in quite some time come out and drop a 32-minute diatribe on why he means the world to this franchise and why he deserves the money. He wrote a whole thesis, 11th grade research paper of monologues and soliloquy stating why he is worthy of the contract that he seeks. And my guess on the matter is this. My guess is as good as any of these reporters, because nobody knows what they're offering. I think Washington starts the conversation, or has started the conversation, around 28 million. I think they started the conversation with the T. Higgins deal. I think Terry and his representation want the DK Metcalf or a penny, quarter, or dollar over the DK Metcalf, which would be 33 million and some change. And the biggest hiccup is probably guaranteed money. I imagine Terry and his agent were like 3 years guaranteed, saying, I know he's turning 30 years old, but he finally has a very good quarterback, and the rapport and relationship between Jaden Daniels and Terry is great. He's going to prolong Terry's prime, and you're going to get 3 great top-notch years out of Terry, and he wants 3 years guaranteed. My guess is the team said, we're going to work this out between $28 to $30 million a year, and we will guarantee 2 years, and we will come back for a third year after that. So 2 years guaranteed of the 3-year contract, somewhere around $29, $30 million is what I think the team's probably offering. How do I think this situation plays out? Maybe it's the unbothered, unconcerned Commanders tinted lenses, but I think they're about to get this shit done in the next day. I think we're going to get a Monday afternoon to Monday morning drop of breaking news, and you're going to see my original contract offer that I've been hammering down all offseason of 3 years, $95 million for Terry McLaurin with $65 million guaranteed. So that's $31.6 a year, $31,600,000 a year. I think that gets it done. I think that's the perfect compromise in splitting of preferences between the two sides, Adam Peters and the Commanders, and Terry McLaurin and his agent. I think that's where we end up. We're going to circle back to this. It's going to be a 3-year deal with 2 fully guaranteed and some change, maybe a phenomenal signing bonus up top. $31,600,000 a year for Terry McLaurin. We're going to be done. It's going to be all smiles, red carpet rolled out. We love Terry. I love Adam Peters in this organization. And it's going to be kumbaya, hunky-dory vibes, and we can talk about winning the Super Bowl going into training camp. But if this deal does not get done in the next 48 hours or so, then we start having some uncomfortable conversations about holdouts and hold-ins and all types of shit that you don't want to deal with during training camp, because not only is it distraction when you have to step to the podium as the general manager and the head coach, all the players have to answer it. Debo's in his first year in Washington. He wants to be asked questions about the offense, the chemistry, the rapport, the system, the offensive coordinator, his new teammates, his summer workout. Niggas ain't trying to come to the podium and answer questions about Terry McLaurin 24/7 until you get a contract done. So you open up a can of worms of unnecessary nonsense if we don't get this done by the start of training camp. And there is a world where things can still be kumbaya if he has to hold out the first week of camp, which isn't even in pads anyway. They're just running around with helmets and shells and passing conditioning tests. Well, not passing for everybody. You know, Jalen Johnson of the Chicago Bears didn't pass his physical or conditioning test and that's $100 million man. But that's beyond the point. I'm gonna take every shot I can at the Lions, the Bears, the Eagles, etc. But back on topic. Let me lock in and let me stay focused. There's a world where he holds out the first week of camp and then they get something done because they're like, all right, enough with the bullshit. But I am still objectively not concerned. I'm still cooling. I still think they get this done. And I don't think we're going to have to drastically overpay Terry McLaurin to get this done. They just got to find that sweet spot. Everything they've done here since Adam Peters got here, it hasn't been the way fans want it to be done, and it hasn't been in a way that was leaky faucets and the world found out our intentions before we got there. So I don't believe anybody saying that they know how any of these negotiations have went so far, and Terry is doing his part. His agent is doing his part to negotiate and out-leverage the team for the best bang for your buck for their client, considering this is Terry's last big payday as an NFL wide receiver. If you skip past me rambling through the early part of this video, I'll play Jeremy Fowler's thing one more time.
Things stand between the Commanders and Terry McLaurin.
Well, Terry McLaurin, Courtney, remains frustrated. They have not had meaningful conversations on a deal in a while. I checked with Washington. They have no plans to trade Terry McLaurin. They do want him there long term. The question is, are they willing to meet this market that's gotten crazy where players are making $30+ million a year at the receiver position? My sense is they're just not even close to that there, and McLaurin senses that, which is why he's speaking out publicly. So they have a big gap they got to try to fill here. But it looks like he's going to be a Commander regardless.
It looks like he's going to be a Commander regardless. We know how this is going to end up. We know how the end of this story concludes. We know how it concludes. Let me get Rashee Rice off the screen. Get them criminal Chiefs receivers off of my screen, man. But we know how this is going to finish up, guys. It's our guy. It's our guy. It's Terry McLaurin, and Adam Peters knows, and he already told you he wants to make Terry McLaurin a Washington Commander for a long time. We know how it gets awkward. We know how it goes. Players, the new rollout for asking for a trade, which isn't really even asking for a trade. It's to leverage your contract situation. You change your profile pic. Terry changed his profile pic. Used to be in a Commander's uniform. Now he's in like a little league baseball uniform or some shit. That's step one. Then usually they clear out their grid on Instagram and take all their pictures of themselves in the uniform. It's like, whoa, this is how the new generation, this is how they operate, this is how they move, and this is how they get their contract. And then you could take it a step further. You can request the trade, not even if you actually want the trade, because it is the last Hail Mary piece. It is your last ditch effort. It's like when the wife of a failed marriage suggests couples counseling. Let's go see a couples or marriage counselor, marriage therapy. It's that. It's your last ditch option to get what you want. in that situation. And for players, the trade requests don't even be real. It be fugazi as hell. Myles Garrett pinned with a quill like he was writing the Bill of Rights his trade request from the Browns, signed his signature on it in boldface print like John Hancock, and proceeded to do a Clips-like album rollout to promote his trade request during Super Bowl Media Week, where he flirted with us, he flirted with the Eagles, and he flirted with the notion and the idea of playing for a team competing for a Super Bowl. It felt so genuine in the moment. It felt so real, and it felt like there was a chance that a top 5 player in the NFL was going to be on the move. And then the Browns said, hold my beer, and paid him $40 million a year, which at the time was the most money a non-quarterback player was getting annually. And then the Jamar Chase deal happened. And then the TJ Watt deal happened. You know what, Watt? They were publicly saying that teams were sending trade requests and that they were listening. And TJ Watt was mad at the organization. He was sending subliminal shots out through his brother, JJ Watt. And here we go. A couple days ago, TJ Watt was made the highest paid non-quarterback player in NFL history. What did he get? 3 years, 123. He got 123 over 3 years, and most of that shit guaranteed. This is a part of the process. I know what Terry means. I know seeing him show that type of emotion, that type of vigor and frustratedness at the podium the other day. I know it pulled at your heartstrings, Washington Commanders Nation. We love Terry McLaurin here. Love that guy. He's like family. He is the epitome of what this culture is, especially the culture that Dan Quinn and Adam Peters talk about here with this team. And he's been our strongest soldier. He has went through the tough time. He's been in the mud with this franchise. He's played with trash can quarterback after trash can quarterback, and he still went out there, competed, stayed healthy, played through injury, and produced. So the contract is going to get done. But at the same time, we got to let business-minded folks take care of business. And because the team is not moving as fast as you'd like them to, does not mean that the general manager is trash, that he's not great at his job, that he does not do his due diligence and is thorough with the process of contract negotiation. They're going to crunch these numbers. They're going to get this shit done, and they're going to get our guy locked up for the long term. So we can just talk about nothing but football going forward. And my final prediction is that in the next 48 hours, we will be seeing a Terry McLaurin contract extension fired up around the range of 3 years, $95 million with about $65 million guaranteed. And it's going to be a celebration, and everybody can exhale, everybody can breathe, and all of that good stuff. They probably do a second photo shoot of Terry wearing the white Super Bowl era threads for those acting like they never saw him in the Redskins or football team uniforms. But that's where I stand as we sit here on July 20th. And speaking of July 20th, today is the day. Today is the day we officially got the information that ownership was changing hands from Dan Snyder to Josh Harris. Today was the day John Keim, quote, retweeted Adam Schefter and said it's over because the $6.05 billion would it be, went down. It went through, and we celebrated and we partied all over the bullpen at Nats Park at the Burgundy and Sold Commanders sale party. And Josh Harris called in to Grant and Danny and bought free beer for everybody in attendance, and we celebrated like we won the Super Bowl. That's what it means to us fans. That's what it meant getting that little dweeb Napoleon Bonaparte motherfucker out of our organization forever. And it has been all good news since. Even though we went through a shitty season after that, that shitty season got us to where we are today with competency from the top to the bottom of the organization. So don't forget the path and trajectory that this franchise is now moving on because you don't like the way that this contract negotiation is being handled. because they're going to get it done and they're going to continue doing things nobody expects. Not a soul had us getting Laramie Tunzel this offseason. There wasn't an inkling or conversation had that we were even looking for a tackle. Nobody thought we were going tackle in the first round of the draft this year. Nobody thought we were trading for Marshawn Lattimore at the deadline, even though we all saw the dire need at the cornerback position. Nobody thought we were trading Jahan Dotson 2 weeks in the training camp last year. Adam Peters moves at his own pace. And this is the professional I've been waiting to see run this franchise. This is the most competent person we've had in the building since Charlie Casserly was here. So fans need to buckle up, relax, breathe, and let grown folks handle grown folks' business. But at the same time, it would be great for the morale and for the entire theme of training camp to get this shit done. So 17 is in the building with everybody else when we report the training camp this week. We are a week away from Washington's first open practice to fans and general admission next Sunday, the 27th. I might be in the building with Lil Rio. I will let y'all know closer to the date. But AP and DQ, they're talking to the media on Tuesday. And veterans are reporting Tuesday, Wednesday to camp. And training camp will be going for the rest of the week. Tis the season, everybody. Football is back. The Hall of Fame game is in 11 days. Washington has a preseason game in 2 weeks, and it is time for Washington Commanders and NFL training camp, preseason, and football content to take over your existence 24 hours a day going forward through the Super Bowl and the draft. We made it, everybody. So keep your head up high, poke your chest out, get some steps in. Praise the Lord. Do whatever you got to do on this Sunday afternoon and get ready for football season because it is now amongst us. That's all I got for right now. Hail to the Washington Commanders. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know all of your thoughts about the Terry AP cha-cha-cha in the comments below. Tell a friend to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers before the season starts. We're about a little bit under 1,300 subscribers away. We'll see. Let's get to 25K subscribers by the Super Bowl. A Super Bowl that I think our Washington Commanders could, should, and would be playing in 2026. But hey, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up right now before I ramble on for 30 minutes or so. Y'all have a blessed Sunday afternoon. Talk soon. If anything else comes out, I will be here bloviating and rambling about. Commander Rio,